Hello and welcome to this important discussion. In my last video, I said that in this one, I would provide details about the final point that we discussed in that video. But for the past few days, I have been receiving questions from so many DV 2022 applicants regarding the fate of their program. And so what I have done is to substitute that video that was intended to be released today by this one that speaks about the current situation of the DV 2022 program. Once I'm done with this one, I'm going to work on the one that was expected today for DV 2023 applicants. So let's go into the discussion regarding the current situation of the DV 2022 program. Now, for those of you who have been asking, I'm going to provide you with explanations concerning three situations. And by the time we get to the end of those explanations, you would have understood the current situation of the DV 2022 program, and I guess all of your questions would have been answered by then. So let's begin with the first situation. The first situation is what I refer to as the normal. In a normal diversity visa program year, the scheduling of interviews should come to an end by the end of the month of July. That is what happens in a normal DV program year. Now, the second situation is the unusual. That is what we experienced for the last 2 years. For DV 2020 and DV 2021, scheduling of interviews went up to the month of September. And the reason was because those programs had lost several months. In the case of DV 2020, the program started off normally, but by the end of the month of March, the program was interrupted because of COVID-19. And when things began to improve around the month of August, that was when the program resumed, and so the State Department allowed interviews to continue to be scheduled up to the month of September. And in the case of DV 2021, because of the ban on immigration, the program did not kick off until the end of the month of February. And so that program actually lost the first 5 months of the fiscal year. And so once again, interview scheduling was allowed to go up to the month of September. Last year, there were cases that were scheduled up to the 3rd week in the month of September, and those cases had very short interview notice. So that kind of gave you an idea of what the normal is and what the unusual is when it comes to the DV program. Now, let's consider the final situation, that is the current experience, the DV 2022 program. The program started off in unusual circumstances. We have said that many times. At the beginning of the year, there were only very few visas that were issued. But somewhere around the middle of the year, there was a turnaround in the DV 2022 program. And then since that time, we have experienced very high numbers when it comes to visa issuance. In the cases of the DV 2020 and DV 2021 programs, with the last minute effort that was put into those programs, visa issuances for each of those years did not get anywhere close to what the DV 2022 program is experiencing. In each of those years, we did not have up to 20,000 visas issued. Whereas in the case of DV 2022, we expect visa issuance to be the highest ever. In past normal program years, we have seen anywhere from 40 to early 50,000 visas being issued. But this year, the statistics show that visa issuance will be even higher than what has been normal years. So with such a situation, can we expect scheduling of interviews to continue into the month of September as we experienced last year? And the answer to that is no, because the DV 2022 program is already getting close to achieving its goal. That's the first reason. Now, the second reason has to do with the current statistics. I'm going to show you those statistics in a moment. And that will be more reasons why you cannot expect scheduling of interviews to continue in the DV 2022 program. On your screen, you have the most recent statistics from the DV 2022 program. And I would like to draw your attention to the three numbers that are underlined in red, as well as the column that has the red arrow descending on it. The first is the total number of visas that have been issued so far, which stands at 31,362. The second number is the total number of applicants that are already awaiting interview at various embassies and consulates, and that is 29,716. Now, we will get to the third figure in a moment, but when you consider these two numbers, the total number of visas that have already been issued and the total number of applicants that are awaiting interviews at the various embassies and consulates, and you carry out some calculations, which I'm not going to go into, you will realize that statistics shown in this table puts visa issuance close to the available visas for the DV 2022 program. With that, can we expect scheduling of interviews to continue into the month of September? The answer remains no. And so let's go to the third number that is underlined in red, which is 109. And that is the total number of cases that are in transit, that have left KCC and are on their way to various embassies and consulates around the world. Now, for those of you who have been following statistics on this website, that is the Safe Diversity Visa website, you would have noticed that the total number of cases in transit has never been this low in recent months. We have had several hundred cases in transit. We have also had even over 1,000 cases in transit, but never this low in the past 4 or 5 months. And what happened is that it was quite recently that those numbers, that is the several hundreds or even more than 1,000 cases in transit, actually reduced to 109. That is a clear sign that these are the final cases that are in transit from KCC to the various embassies and consulates. You will not see that number increase further in the coming days or even weeks. What you will observe from the numbers that are in that column, in the in-transit column, is that in the coming days, those numbers will drop down to 0, which means that no more cases are being transferred from KCC to the various embassies and consulates. And that will be the sign that interview scheduling in the DV 2022 program is over. So what we are currently witnessing in the DV 2022 program are the final days of interview scheduling. So from the latest statistics of the DV 2022 program that we just saw on the screen, only very few DV 2022 applicants will still receive their interview notifications. Those cases may be a part of the 109 cases that we just saw in transit. They may also come from the ready column, because sometimes the cases are ready for interview, but it is after a few days that the applicants are notified. So those are the few cases that will still receive interview notifications. and that is expected to happen in the coming few days. It is true that after these few days, interviews will continue up to the month of September. But those interviews will only concern those who have already received their interview notifications, say up to next week. After that, if you do not receive your interview notification, then I'm sorry. Unfortunately, that will mean the end of the DV 2022 program for you. Now, let me just address 3 questions that I received. The first being whether there will be an extension of the DV 2022 program. And the answer to that is no. It is against the law that the program be extended beyond September 30th. The second question has to do with requesting transfers to other countries. I'm sorry that it is late. Transfer is an entire process and it takes some time to achieve. And as I just said, there are only few days for the final scheduling of interviews. And so before your transfer can actually work out, interview scheduling for DV 2022 will already be over. And the next and final question is, what can you do at this time? Sorry to say that unfortunately, there is nothing you can actually do to affect the prevailing situation. It is true that this is not good news, but this is the current reality of the DV 2022 program. In a few days' time, I will come up with another video to discuss the situation at that time. I hope by this video I was able to answer all of the questions that you may have had, but in case I didn't, then do as usual, leave them in the comment area below and I'm going to respond to them. And I will see you, God willing, in that other video.